This cold detachment hits harder than any revenge text. Sometimes the loudest screams come from those who say nothing at all. That's the quote, the truth, and it's exactly what they're doing now. Screaming in silence, pretending to move on while secretly choking on the guilt of how they treated you. Smiling online, broken inside, they'll never admit it because pride won't let them. But deep down, oh, they feel it. They feel every ounce of you that they mistook for weakness, echoing off the empty walls of their life. If you've ever felt like you were the only one left hurting, let me assure you, you're not alone. And if they made you believe you were easy to walk away from, that's the lie they needed to cling to in order to avoid the truth. But today, we're cutting through the illusion. Today, you're going to wake up because cold detachment isn't just silence. It's strategy. It's your rebirth. Before we dive deeper into this transformative journey, I invite you to engage with this message. This might just be the powerful shift your soul has been waiting for. Imagine a diamond lying in a muddy parking lot. Someone walks by, steps over it, maybe even kicks it because they think it's just a rock. But once the mud washes off, and that diamond is cleaned, set in gold, and placed under light, suddenly everyone wants it. Suddenly it's precious. But where were they when it was lying in the dirt? Where were they when it was already valuable, but just not shining enough for their shallow eyes? That diamond was you. They treated you like you were replaceable, like trash, like a disposable option they could toss aside and come back to later. A doormat when they were tired and a ghost when they were full. But here's the harsh truth. People will only value what they fear losing. As long as you kept showing up, explaining, checking in, asking for clarity, begging for decency, you were training them to disrespect you, but not anymore. Because now you've gone quiet. Now your energy has gone cold. Now you've stepped out of the chaos and back into your throne. And that shift is the one thing they never expected. See, a lot of people are prepared for arguments. They're ready for that long closure message, that final emotional outburst. What they can't handle is silence, especially when it comes from the one who used to care the most. That's why they're spiraling. That's why they're checking your page, even if they blocked you. That's why they post those fake happy stories. That's why they flirt with people they don't even like. They're trying to prove something to you, but you're not even looking anymore. You are not trash. You are not background noise. You are not someone's emotional punching bag while they find themselves. You were the best thing they never deserved. And now you're done trying to prove it. Let them wonder. Let them feel the cold void where your warmth used to be. Because you're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself from cycles, from chaos, from the slow death of self-respect. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You need distance. You need vision. You need to remember who you are. Say it with me in the comments. My silence is my power. Write it, own it, and live it. And if you're ready to keep reclaiming that power, engage with this message. The version of you that begged is gone. The new you doesn't even flinch. They didn't reject you, they rejected your life. They didn't break you. They broke the version of you that kept letting them. That's the line they're hoping you never hear. Because if you do, you'll stop chasing. You'll stop apologizing for being too much, for loving too deeply, for feeling too strongly, for staying too long. They never rejected you. They rejected your light, the kind of light that made them uncomfortable, that burned through the shallow masks they wore, that demanded they look at themselves. And they weren't ready for that. So instead of rising to meet your truth, they shrank into their comfort zone. And then they blamed you for being too bright. Let me tell you something, my friend. You were never too much. You were real in a world full of empty souls. but they couldn't take it. They couldn't handle the weight of your presence, your loyalty, your love. So they discarded it like trash, like a doormat, like you were just another placeholder for their boredom. But that wasn't rejection, that was fear disguised as confidence. Imagine handing someone a rare, priceless violin, and they use it to stir soup. They don't know what they're holding, so they treat it like junk. Not because it is junk, but because they've never seen anything that valuable in their life. That was you, a masterpiece in the wrong hands. And now you sit there asking yourself the questions they planted in your mind. Was I really not enough? Did I push them away? Why did they choose someone else? Why am I the one left bleeding while they act like nothing happened? Those questions aren't yours. Those are the ghosts of their guilt trying to live in your head. Wake up. They didn't reject your love. They rejected the responsibility of receiving it. They weren't ready for the version of you that stood in truth, that saw through their games, that wasn't impressed by surface-level affection. So they left before you could make them change, and they made you believe you were the problem. Let me say this loud. People don't reject you. They reject the version of themselves that feels exposed in your presence. Your depth revealed their lack. Your consistency revealed their instability. Your loyalty revealed their lies, and instead of growing, they ran. Now they're quiet, but not peaceful. They're out there pretending to thrive, pretending to be happy with someone new, posting like everything's fine. But behind those stories is a soul suffocating under the weight of what they lost. They traded real love for temporary relief, and now they wake up in the arms of distraction while thinking about the one person who actually knew them. You. But you forgot your crown, didn't you? You started to believe their silence was proof that you weren't worth it. You started to question your value because they didn't clap for it. Shame on you. How dare you? After everything you gave, everything you survived, everything you became, how dare you let the opinion of a confused, cowardly soul dictate your worth? How dare you lower your light just to keep people from looking away? They didn't see your light because they were never looking for it. They were looking for a fix, a warm body, a distraction, someone who would make them feel good while avoiding accountability. And when you handed them truth, they called it too much. But let me remind you, the sun doesn't dim because someone can't take the heat. You were sent into their life to show them what real feels like. Not perfect, not always pretty, but real. And when faced with that, most people fold, because it takes strength to face someone who sees through you. It takes character to be loved by someone deep. But now you see it, don't you? They didn't want depth, they wanted comfort. They wanted someone who wouldn't challenge their ego. And you, beautiful soul that you are, challenged everything fake about them. That's why they left. Not because you were too intense, but because they were too hollow. But here's where you flip the script. You stop explaining. You stop reaching. You stop trying to shrink yourself into silence just so someone else can feel tall. Instead, you rise. You rebuild. You remember who you are. Not because they're watching, but because you finally are. Your silence now is sacred. Your distance is divine. This is not revenge. This is rebirth. And one day they'll realize it. One day they'll scroll through old messages, hear a song, or walk past someone with your perfume, and it'll hit them with a gut-punch realization that they lost something irreplaceable. Let them feel it and let it fuel you, because the new version of you doesn't beg, doesn't prove, doesn't wait. The new version of you walks forward with peace in her eyes and fire in her soul. And when they come crawling back, if they ever do, you'll already be gone. Not bitter, not broken, just unavailable. Say it with me in the comments. I am the light they couldn't handle. Write it, post it, show the world. And more importantly, show yourself, because what's coming next? Oh, it'll make every tear, every unanswered message, and every sleepless night worth it. Stay with me, we're not done yet. Number 2, the truth. They're in more pain than you know. The one who laughs the loudest after the breakup usually cries the hardest when no one's watching. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. And they hope you never figure that out. Because if you did, you'd stop envying the illusion. You'd stop replaying their fake smile in your mind. You'd stop assuming their silence means they're healed or that their happiness is real. It's not even close. See, they laughed when they left you. They smirked like they won. They acted like you were replaceable, like discarding you was some kind of level up. But let me tell you something, my friend. That laugh wasn't strength, it was fear. That was their last defense against feeling what they've spent their whole life running from. The truth of who they are without your light. You were the mirror. You reflected their chaos and called it out with your calm. You offered consistency in a world where they only knew confusion. You gave warmth, forgiveness, and emotional safety. And they took it like a drug without ever appreciating the pharmacy it came from. And now that it's gone, they're spiraling quietly and silently behind the scenes. You won't see it in the stories. You won't hear it through the grapevine because pride is loud. Pride wears sunglasses and posts selfies. Pride flirts and flexes and pretends nothing happened. But grief is silent. Grief doesn't post. Grief shows up at 2 a.m. when no one's texting. Grief hits hardest when they're alone in the dark, scrolling through old messages, wondering, how did I lose someone like that? That's where they are. Because your silence didn't just hurt their ego. It removed the mirror. Now they're forced to sit with themselves. Every excuse they gave you, every lie they told, every breadcrumb they tossed while you starved for clarity. And now there's no one left to blame. No one left to distract them from their reflection. But you still think they're fine, don't you? You still think they moved on without a scratch. You think you're the only one who can't sleep, who checks their page, who wonders if they ever cared. But let me tell you, the one who walks away smiling isn't always the one who sleeps peacefully at night. Because pretending to move on is easy. Living with regret, that's the real prison. And trust me, they feel it. They feel the absence of your good morning texts. The silence when they're used to you checking in, the quiet where your love used to live. At first, they called it peace, but now it's emptiness. It's a void they tried to fill with attention, rebounds, and pride, but none of it is working. Because when you lose someone who actually loved your soul, nothing else ever feels right again. They're haunted by the way you made them feel seen, by the way you forgave them more than they deserved, by the way you showed up even when they didn't. And now that you're gone, they're replaying it all. The lies, the mind games, the moments they pushed you away and laughed while you broke. Deep down, they know they didn't just lose a person, they lost a blessing. But don't expect an apology. Don't wait on closure. Pride will swallow their truth before their ego lets them admit they're hurting. And that's fine, because you don't need proof. You don't need to see them cry to know you mattered. You just need to stay silent, cold, distant, and let time do what it does best, expose the truth. Say it with me in the comments. My absence is unforgettable. Write it down, let them feel it, let yourself feel it, and stay with me, because what we're about to reveal next will hit even harder. Number 3. Cold detachment is a mirror. They can't escape it. Silence doesn't lie. It exposes the truth they tried to bury under your forgiveness. And now they can't run from it. See, they thought your silence was weakness. They thought you had nothing left to say because they won. But silence isn't surrender. Not when it comes from someone who used to fight, explain, cry, beg, plead, and then suddenly nothing. That's not weakness, that's transformation. And what scares them the most is that your silence has become a mirror they can't look away from. A mirror that doesn't scream, doesn't accuse, doesn't argue, it just reflects. And reflection is what terrifies people who live on lies. You were the mirror that showed them their immaturity, their emotional cowardice, their inability to handle real love. When you were around, they could ignore the damage they were causing because you kept absorbing it. But now that you're gone, they're stuck with the mess they made, and no one's cleaning it up this time. Your cold detachment didn't just create space, it created consequences. And every second you stay silent, grounded, and gone, their mind replays what they did. Not in the open, not in the group chat, not on social media, but deep down in the part of them they try to silence with distractions. Because the truth is, detachment is surgical. It doesn't come to fight, it comes to remove the infection. Your disappearance wasn't loud, but it was lethal. You didn't leave to punish them, you left because staying was punishing you. And that shift, that's what shook their world. Imagine walking past a mirror that shows your true self. No filters, no lies, no performance. That's what your absence feels like to them now. They can't scroll past it, can't mute it, can't unsee it. It's in their quiet moments, in the space where your energy used to soothe them, where your voice used to anchor them. Now that you're detached, that space feels hollow, and you didn't have to say a word. They thought the loudest one wins the breakup, but cold detachment whispers louder than rage ever could. Because detachment doesn't say, "I hate you." It says, "You're irrelevant now." And that destroys the ego. Your energy used to chase, now it's unavailable. And the more healed, stable, and silent you become, the more unbalanced they feel. They lost control of the narrative. And that's why they're spiraling in ways they'll never admit. You were never the problem. You were just the one willing to stay while they remained broken. But now you're not playing the fixer. You're not playing the fool. You're done explaining why you deserved better. You simply became better. And that's a mirror they can't smash, silence, or ignore. Let them sit with their reflection. Let the weight of your absence speak louder than your words ever did. Because you, my friend, are no longer available for confusion, chaos, or crumbs. You're not proving your worth anymore. You're embodying it. Say it in the comments. My silence reveals their truth. Write it, let it echo. Because what's coming next in this journey of detachment is the part where they start breaking down and you start leveling up. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 4. The moment you go silent, their soul starts screaming. The loudest silence is the one they hear when you're no longer available. That's when it starts. Not the moment you stop texting, not when you block them, not even when you walk away. It begins the second you stop caring, the second your energy disconnects. Because people don't notice your worth when you're always available. They notice it when you're gone completely, emotionally, energetically. And when that shift happens, oh, trust me, their soul starts screaming. You used to be their emotional security blanket. Always there, always ready to fix, explain, overgive, and forgive. You used to jump when they needed reassurance, even when they gave you none. You fought to hold something together while they acted like it was disposable. And now you've gone silent. Now your replies don't come. Your heart doesn't chase. Your energy doesn't stretch itself to prove a thing. And that silence is deafening to the very person who thought you'd never stop trying. You might think they don't notice that they're fine, but listen closely. This is what happens behind the mask. They scroll your page when no one's watching, zoom in on old pictures, reread your last message, trying to decode your tone, wondering if you meant what you said, wondering if you still care. They stare at your name in their contacts, thumb hovering, debating whether reaching out would make them look weak. In that moment, that silence becomes a battlefield, one their pride is losing. They tell themselves lies like, "I'm glad it ended," or "they were too emotional," or "I'm better off." But underneath all that ego talk is a storm they can't contain. Because your silence didn't just remove your words, it removed your access. And that's the most painful kind of punishment for someone who thought you'd never leave the door closed. You see, silence creates curiosity, and curiosity creates obsession, especially in the minds of people who never appreciated you until you were unavailable. You don't need to post subliminals. You don't need to show them you're glowing. Just go quiet, emotionally quiet, vibrationally quiet. You are Shavazi. Differ forusade you. You survive. Detach so deeply that your energy no longer leaks into their world, and suddenly they feel it. The pull, the panic, the pressure. Because deep down they know something shifted. The version of you who begged is dead. The version who needed closure doesn't live here anymore. And that new version, the one who's peaceful, still cold and glowing, haunts them. It keeps them up at night, wondering who's loving them now. Or worse, what if no one is, and they just don't need me anymore? People don't panic when they lose your presence. They panic when they realize your presence was their peace. And without it, life just doesn't hit the same. So stop questioning if they care. Stop wondering if they notice. They do. They just don't have the emotional maturity to say it. And even if they did, you're not who you used to be. You're not looking back anymore. You're not cold because you're heartless. You're cold because they forced you to become fireproof. You're not silent because you're weak. You're silent because you outgrew the noise. Say it in the comments. My silence speaks louder than their ego. Number 5. You were their peace. Now let chaos teach them. Some people don't realize you were their peace until the chaos they chose starts to eat them alive. That's what's happening now. Quietly, painfully behind closed doors. You, my friend, were their sanctuary. Not their savior, not their servant, but their safe place. You were the one who made things make sense when their mind was spinning. The one who stayed patient while they self-destructed. The one who gave softness even when they gave you confusion. You were calm in a storm they didn't know how to survive. So they called your calm boring, your grace too sensitive, your standards too much. And now they're stuck in the storm they created. They thought they could find peace in chaos. They thought trading your loyalty for attention, your presence for pride, and your love for lust was somehow winning. But what they didn't realize until it was far too late is that you were the only thing keeping their world from crumbling. You were the silence that calmed their demons, the anchor that kept their soul from drifting into madness. And now that you're gone, let life deal with them. Because no, you don't need to explain anything. You don't need to send that final message or call them out or show them you've glowed up. That's not your job anymore. You've already done more than enough. You were their emotional home, their healer, their safety net, and they treated you like a backup plan. But now it's gone, and they feel it. In the silence when no one checks on them like you did. When they try to connect with someone new but keep comparing them to you. And when they wake up next to a warm body but feel cold inside. Nothing hits harder than losing the one who loved you at your worst and realizing you don't get that kind of love twice. So stop worrying about whether they're suffering. Stop wondering if they'll ever understand what they lost. They will, not through words, not through closure, but through the chaos they now call life. Let karma handle the syllabus. Let their nights be haunted by the memory of how calm they used to feel when you were near. Because here's the truth, you were never weak for loving them. You were strong for staying as long as you did. But now, the strongest move you'll ever make is to let the storm teach them what your patience no longer will. Let them live in the emotional mess they created. Let them sit with the people who only clap when they perform, not when they bleed. Let them look for peace in empty connections. Say it in the comments. I was their peace, now I'm their lesson. Write it, own it, let it be your vow. Because coming up next is the moment where you become completely unreachable, and that's when they break. Stay with me. Number 6. A stoic woman never chases, she watches. You only chase what you believe is above you. The moment you realize it's beneath you, you stop running. That's the shift. The moment you stop being the girl who over-explains, overextends, and overgives, and become the woman who observes, calm, cold, unshaken. That's when you step into stoic power. And trust me, nothing terrifies someone more than a woman who used to beg, now watching them like a stranger. See, they expected the usual, the breakdown, the late-night texts, the emotional explosions. They thought you'd fight to stay in their life because that's what you used to do. You used to chase the potential you saw in them while they gave you inconsistency. You kept trying to get closer to someone who couldn't even meet you halfway. But something changed, didn't it? You woke up, you saw yourself clearly, and you realized no one worth having would make you beg to be seen. So now you don't argue. You don't explain. You don't try to convince them to pick you, because a stoic woman doesn't chase. She watches. She lets the story unfold without trying to rewrite it. She lets people lose her. She lets the silence speak. And when they come crawling back, whispering, "I miss you," in their fake casual tone, she doesn't flinch. Not out of spite, but out of clarity. You already saw everything you needed to see. They exposed themselves in the way they discarded you, in the way they replaced you before healing from you, in the way they thought you'd wait around while they explored their options. But you didn't wait, you watched. And watching is powerful because it means you are no longer emotionally entangled. You're no longer reacting, you're no longer driven by desperation. And that is pure psychological power. A stoic woman knows her presence is the reward. Her energy is the prize. Her love is not some discount item sitting on clearance waiting to be noticed. It's rare, sacred, and if you mishandle it, you lose it forever. They don't expect that. They think they'll always have access to you. They think they can walk away and come back like nothing happened. But when they do, they're greeted with silence, stillness, and peace. And that peace, that's what breaks them. Because your peace means they no longer have control. Not over your emotions, not over your decisions, not over your worth. You've become untouchable. You're not bitter, you're better. You're not spiteful, you're selective. And that makes them spiral. Because people don't regret what they broke, they regret what they can't fix. And you, my friend, no longer need fixing. You've already healed. You've already evolved. You've become the version of yourself they were never equipped to love. So when they come back, and they will, don't look, don't explain, don't prove how much you've grown. Just smile in silence. Let them see what they lost. Let them feel the weight of your peace. Say it in the comments. I don't chase, I choose. Type it, believe it, show them. Number 7. The power is in becoming unreachable. When you stop being available to people who took you for granted, they don't miss you. They mourn the access they abused. And that's what's happening now. Make no mistake, they don't miss fixing things. They miss touching power they no longer have access to. Because access to you was never guaranteed. That was a privilege. And they treated it like background noise. Something they could mute, skip, or ignore until you went silent. Until you became unreachable. Not because you're petty, not because you're playing games, but because you woke up to your own value. Let me say this loud for the people in the back. Self-respect is not revenge, it's survival. You stopped texting first. You stopped watching their stories. You stopped trying to heal what kept cutting you, and they noticed. Don't let the silence fool you. Don't let the pride-filled posts trick you. They feel it every day. The absence of your energy, your softness, your loyalty, your presence. It used to feed them. Now it starves them. You gave them access to a version of you that was open, giving, emotionally generous, and they mistook it for weakness. They thought you'd always be there until one day you weren't. You didn't announce it. You didn't make a scene. You just withdrew. You disappeared from the places you used to overextend, and now they're sitting in the ruins of what they destroyed. Wondering how someone who gave so much could just vanish. But you didn't vanish. You just stopped handing out emotional access passes to people who couldn't respect the energy it took to love them. You stopped entertaining people who needed to lose you in order to recognize your worth. You stopped apologizing for protecting your peace, because that's what this is about now. Protection, not revenge, not punishment, not manipulation. You're not playing hard to get. You're hard to forget, because your presence was the healing they didn't know they needed until it was gone. They're spiraling quietly, checking your profile from fake accounts, asking mutual friends subtle questions, pretending to be fine while internally panicking. They feel powerless. Not because you blocked them, but because they know they can't reach the version of you they once had. And that's what breaks them, because now you're glowing, now you're becoming, and every smile you post, every ounce of peace you walk in, every day you don't call them, that's another crack in their pride, another reminder of what they had and what they will never get back. You're no longer available for conversations that insult your intelligence. You're no longer responding to texts from people who can't spell loyalty. You're no longer entertaining confusion. You are no longer reachable because you finally reached yourself. Say it in the comments. My peace is not up for grabs. Write it, live it, let them feel. And that's what hurts them most. They thought they buried you but didn't know you were a seed. That's what's breaking them now. Not the silence, not the distance, not the block, but the fact that you're still rising, glowing, blooming, and breathing peace without their name in your lungs. They expected you to fall apart, to spiral, to lose yourself in the absence they created. But you didn't. You flourished. And it's that glow they can't unsee. It's that strength they never expected that now haunts them. See, they thought you'd wait, stay broken, stay bitter, and stay trying to figure out what went wrong. They thought you'd crumble without their validation, that you'd need to prove you were good enough for them to choose. But what they forgot is that your value was never up for debate. It just took you a little too long to see it for yourself. And now that you have, they're panicking in silence. Because here's the part they didn't prepare for. You moved on without rage. You didn't slam doors. You didn't announce it. You just stopped participating in your own mistreatment. You stepped back, stepped into your own energy, reclaimed your mind, and protected your soul. And that kind of growth doesn't need revenge. It doesn't need validation. It just lives. And that, my friend, is what hurts them most. They don't miss your body. They don't miss the messages. They miss the feeling your presence gave them. They miss the peace they had when you were near, the way you forgave, the way you listened, and the way your energy calmed their demons, even when they were destroying you. And now that light is gone, not because you turned it off, but because you finally realized they didn't deserve to bask in. You're not rising out of revenge. You're rising because your story no longer fits inside the chaos they kept inviting you into. The games, the silence, the cycles, it doesn't resonate anymore. You outgrew the pattern. You outgrew the need to be chosen. And now you choose yourself quietly, boldly, daily. They'll think about you in the shower, in traffic, in the arms of someone who doesn't understand their silence the way you did. And when it hits, it'll hit hard. But they'll never get access again, because you're not available for souls that only value peace once they lose it. You're not interested in people who need to break you just to feel powerful. You've leveled up in a way they can't reach. Not because you're above them, but because you stopped lowering yourself to meet them. You didn't need to expose them. You didn't need to clap back, you just lived. And that living, that quiet blooming in a world that thought you'd stay broken, is the final blow. Say it in the comments. I lived, and that was enough. Let it be your victory song. Let it be your soul's quiet roar. You don't need to prove anything to anyone who fumbled you. You just need to keep rising, keep living, keep being what they could never hold. And never look back, because they will. Every night, every silence, every loss. You were the best part of the story they tried to rewrite. But now the pen is in your hand. You lived, and that was enough. So here's the truth, my friends. Your silence, your glow, your peace was the real revenge all along. You didn't need to scream. You didn't need to prove anything. You just had to live and let the universe expose what they tried to hide. Stay in that power. Protect it. Because once they lose access to you, they lose access to peace. If this message resonated with you, make sure to engage with this content, subscribe for more truth, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. You're not chasing anymore. You're chosen, and they'll never forget you. Let's embrace this journey together.